Shalom family. May the peace, wisdom, and majesty of Yahuah rest upon you. Today, we are going to reset the frequency on a matter that has been deeply misunderstood in the awakening. The ministry of regality, divine presentation, and the restoration of our royal identity. Too often, we hear the words like pride, haughtiness, or vanity used to discredit the visible restoration of our people. Many in this walk have been conditioned to believe that true righteousness is synonymous with being lowly, hidden, and stripped of honor. But what does Scripture actually say about the way kings, queens, priests, and rulers were designed to walk in the earth? What does it say about the cultural reclamation of the people who were scattered, robbed of their inheritance, and stripped of their divine nobility? Today, we're going to unpack the forgotten ministry of regality and expose how false humility, cultural shame, and religious moral superiority have been used to keep us from fully embodying the kingdom rulership that Yahuah has destined for us. In this video, we will cover a few things, one being the royal priesthood and what Scripture says about regal identity. We will touch on the scattering and the stripping of our honor, how our people were robbed of their kingship. We will also touch on the prophetic return to regality, why restoring our divine presentation matters, the power of representation, how we minister through presence and nobility. And we also will touch on the breaking the mindsets of false humility and cultural shame. And also how Yahushua himself walked in royal authority and how we can walk in regality with honor, not pride. It's time to break free from the lies, remove the shame, and walk in the inheritance that has been prepared for us from the beginning. Let's get into it. Touching on the royal priesthood, what Scripture says about regal identity. In the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, it says, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people." In the book of Revelation, chapter 5, it says, "And hast made us unto our Elohim, kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth." In the book of Proverbs 31, it talks about the woman who makes coverings of fine linen and purple, that strength and honor are her clothing. Regality and priesthood are not separate. They are intertwined. The Most High never called us to be peasants, beggars, or lowly in stature. Righteousness and nobility are not mutually exclusive. A priest represents holiness, wisdom, and divine authority. A king or queen represents stewardship, rulership, and the visible representation of Yahuah's order on earth. Many have been taught that meekness equals smallness and humility equals invisibility. But biblical humility is not about erasing yourself. It's about knowing your authority while being submitted to the Most High. The scattering and the stripping of our honor was very intentional because of our disobedience unto Yahuah. In the book of Deuteronomy 28, it says, "Therefore shalt you serve your enemies in hunger and thirst and nakedness and in want of all things." And in the book of Lamentations, it says, "And from the daughter of Zion, all her beauty is departed." In the book of Yeshayahu, it talks about how Yahuah stripped the daughters of Zion of their crown and their anklets and their jewelry and the garments as part of the judgment for rebellion. When our people went into captivity, we were not just physically enslaved. We were mentally and spiritually stripped of our honor. We lost our language, our heritage, our dignity, and the visible signs of our divine inheritance. And because of this, many in the awakening have been conditioned to reject the very things that were stolen from us, fearing that regality is a sign of pride rather than a sign of restoration. So, the prophetic return to regality is indeed inevitable. It is happening. It is required. In the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 63, it says, "To give them ashes, beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness." In the book of Zechariah, chapter 3, 4 through 5, it says, "Yahuah removes filthy garments and clothes his people with rich apparel as a sign of restoration." In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16, it talks about Yahuah adorning his people in fine linen, gold, and silver, dressing them with honor and splendor. When Yahuah restores his people, he doesn't just redeem them spiritually, he restores their dignity, their honor, and their visible identity. The return to our regal identity is not about materialism, it is about alignment. So, there is a ministering through regality, and there is the power of representation in us being restored. In the book of Daniel, right? Chapter 1, it talks about the king selecting the best of Israel, well-favored, skillful, wise, of noble appearance. right? In the book of Hadassah, it talked about how Queen Hadassah's regality positioned her for the divine assignment of Yahuah. And in the book of Matthew, Yahusha was given gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh as symbols of kingship. Representation matters. Our people have been programmed to associate regality with corruption and access or pride, while the world parades false royalty before us. How we carry ourselves speaks volume. For those who are still trapped in a low vibrational, degraded mindset, seeing righteous regality is a wake-up call. So, let's break the mindset of false humility and cultural shame, right? In the book of Colossians chapter 2, 18 through 23, it talks about false humility and self-imposed righteousness have an appearance of wisdom but lack true honor. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 7, it says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Many in the awakening mistake false humility for righteousness. And there is a thin line between meekness and self-suppression. The enemy wants to keep us small, hidden, and stripped of our dignity because a people who do not know their honor are easy to manipulate. So, we must walk in regal authority without fear. In the book of Lucas chapter 12, around verse 32, it says, Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. In the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 60, verses 1 through 3, it says, Arise, shine, for your light has come. Gentiles shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your rising. We are called to be a light. That means walking in authority, confidence, and wisdom without shame. Rulership is not about vanity. It's about stewardship. We don't just wear crowns. We carry responsibility. Our presence alone ministers to those who are still in mental captivity. So, let's reset the frequency. Because the enemy, he wants you to feel bad for walking in your divine inheritance. Right? And false humility, it only keeps people in bondage. Real authority sets them free. Your regality is not just a costume. It's a reflection of the kingdom that you serve. This is more than fashion. And you know I'm a fashionista. I am an iconic queen dresser, okay? But it's prophecy. It's restoration. It's ministry, okay? So walk in it. Walk in it. I've had a lot of people that have said things about me and the way that I dress, and they say, how can you minister to someone? They're going to be looking at everything that you have on. But I say to that person that there is just mere ignorance that is present, because there is a whole harvest that is plenteous, that is ready. What about my brothers and my sisters that are still in captivity, that have been stripped of their culture and given another culture of whoredom, right? Walking around in spandex, walking around in jogging suits, walking around, right? All kinds of exposed out of a sense of humility and lack of dignity or knowing of self. And I walk in. Imagine walking in those urban or those rural areas of poverty, and I walk in to a Walmart or to the store, and they see me, a black woman, a Hebrew Israelite, just like them, walking in this stead. That could bring them into the light. And a lot of times we get caught up in thinking that, being the light or representing Yah has to do with just Bible beating someone and telling them the scripture and telling them that they're in sin, when in actuality it's the way that we live. It's the way that we live. It's the way that we act. It's the way that we treat one another. It's the way that we adorn ourselves, right? Out of honor towards Yahuah. So I'm called to a ministering of regality, to show forth in this world a representation of the black woman, of the Hebrew Israelite woman, especially the one that has been scattered to these what they would call hoods, right? And these poverty, lack, and stricken environments. I am called to show them that we can walk in regality, that we can carry ourselves in regality, that we have a responsibility, that we've been invested into. Hallelujah, that we come from queens, right? I gotta be honest, we are in a very patriarchy like awakening system and structure. And don't get me wrong, like I have a husband and I'm a submissive wife. I believe in traditional marriage roles. Like I understand the order of Yah. So I do not say this as a feminist. I say this as a noble feminine, a woman that honors and understands what femininity is, because it takes femininity to even be submissive. But we're in an awakening that shuns women. You have an awakening that men will address each other as kings, but only address us as princesses. We come from queens as well. We are queens. As a matter of fact, Bathsheba was a queen mother. I get a lot of slack for that. People get upset and think I'm in idolatry or witchcraft because I am referred to as the great mother of Yashael or queen mother. And I'm like, Bathsheba was a queen mother. She was literally a queen and she was the mother of a king. You understand? So I like to believe that my children are royalty, right? I birth royalty. My husband is royalty. I'm royalty. So at the end of the day, don't let anyone make you feel like you're vain or haughty or prideful for walking in regality, especially when it's the spirit of revelation that has been placed upon you and giving you an assignment. You understand where I've come from, what I've been through in life. This is a testament of Yahuah's beauty and power to transform. So shalom, family. Let's continue to reset the frequency on love and radical blessings.
Babina Ahava Ezra Surah.